The galaxy was vast, filled with countless stars and planets. Among them, Earth had always been seen as unimportant, a small, insignificant world in the eyes of the Galactic Council. For centuries, humanity had struggled to survive on its blue-green planet, unaware of the advanced civilizations that thrived in the distant reaches of space. But now, everything was about to change. On a quiet morning in Seoul, South Korea, Jaehyun Park, a military officer known for his calm demeanor and sharp mind, sat at his desk reviewing reports. He was tired but focused, his dark eyes scanning page after page of intelligence updates. Outside, the city buzzed with life. People rushing to work, children heading to school, and cars honking impatiently in traffic. It seemed like an ordinary day, but Jae-hyun knew better. Something big was coming. His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden knock on the door. Standing there was a young lieutenant holding a sealed envelope marked Top Secret. Without saying a word, Jae-hyun took it and dismissed the soldier. Inside the envelope was a single sheet of paper containing instructions written in bold letters. Report immediately to the United Nations Space Command headquarters. Bring no one. Speak to no one. Jae-hyun felt a chill run down his spine. This wasn't just another routine briefing. This was something far more serious. He grabbed his coat, locked his office, and hurried to the designated location. The drive to the UNSC facility was tense. His mind raced with questions. What could be so urgent? Was it another natural disaster? Or perhaps some internal conflict within Earth's governments? Whatever it was, it must have been grave enough to warrant such secrecy. When he arrived, he found himself surrounded by armed guards and high-tech security systems. After passing through multiple checkpoints, he entered a dimly lit conference room where several other individuals were already seated. Among them was Eun-ji Choi, a brilliant scientist whose recent breakthroughs in quantum energy had made headlines around the globe. She looked pale and anxious, clutching a folder tightly in her hands. At the head of the table stood General Lim, a stern man with graying hair and piercing blue eyes. He began speaking without preamble. "We are under attack," he said, his voice low but firm. "A coalition of alien races led by the Vortak Dominion has declared war on Earth. Their demand is simple. They want the Singularity Core." Jae-hyun's heart sank. He had heard rumors about the Singularity Core, a revolutionary device created by Eun-ji and her team. It was capable of bending space-time itself, opening up possibilities for faster-than-light travel and limitless energy production. However, it also posed immense risks if misused. If fallen into the wrong hands, it could become a weapon of unimaginable destruction. Eun-ji shifted uncomfortably in her seat. She had always believed her invention would bring peace and prosperity, not chaos and bloodshed. Now, she realized how naive she had been. Her creation had attracted unwanted attention from forces beyond her control. General Lim continued, outlining the situation in stark detail. The Vortak Dominion was ruthless and powerful, ruling over dozens of conquered worlds with an iron fist. They viewed Earth as weak and primitive, unworthy of possessing technology as advanced as the Singularity Core. To them, humanity's refusal to surrender the device was an act of defiance that could not go unpunished. "We cannot give in to their demands," Jae-hyun interjected suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. "If we hand over the core, they will destroy us anyway. We have no choice but to fight." His words hung heavy in the air. Fight? Against beings who possess superior weapons and centuries of experience in warfare? It sounded impossible. Yet Jae-hyun's resolve was clear. He understood the odds stacked against him, but he also knew that surrender meant certain doom. Eun-ji nodded slowly. "He's right," she said softly. "If we don't defend ourselves, we lose everything. Our freedom, our future, everything we worked for." As the meeting progressed, plans were laid out. Jae-hyun would lead Earth's defense efforts, coordinating military operations across continents. Eun-ji would oversee modifications to the Singularity Core, ensuring it could be used effectively in battle while minimizing potential dangers. Together, they formed an unlikely partnership bound by duty and desperation. Meanwhile, thousands of light years away, Ambassador Eugene Kim faced her own challenges. As Earth's representative on the Galactic Council, She had spent years trying to convince skeptical alien leaders of humanity's worthiness. When news of the impending war reached the council chambers, laughter erupted among the delegates. Many dismissed Earth's plight as irrelevant, believing it would quickly crumble under pressure. But Eugene refused to back down. Rising to her feet, she addressed the assembly with unwavering determination. "You may see us as insignificant," she declared, her voice ringing out loud and clear. "But let me assure you, we are not weak. We are resilient, and we will fight until our last breath to protect what is ours." Her speech left many stunned. Though few species dared defy the Vortex openly, whispers of admiration spread throughout the chamber. Perhaps these humans were more than mere primitives after all. Back on Earth, preparations intensified. Factories churned out weapons and spacecraft at unprecedented rates. Soldiers trained tirelessly, readying themselves for combat unlike anything they had ever faced. Civilians rallied behind their defenders, donating supplies and volunteering their skills. Even children contributed by drawing pictures of brave warriors defending their home planet. In private moments, however, doubts lingered. Eun-ji confided in her childhood friend Hyeon-soo Lee, a skilled engineer who had helped design the Singularity Core. They talked late into the night, sharing fears and hopes for the future. Hyeon-soo reminded her of their shared dream, to use technology for good rather than evil, but even he couldn't deny the necessity of defending their home. Jae-hyun, too, wrestled with uncertainty. Some nights, he lay awake wondering if leading humanity into war was the right decision. Could they really stand against such overwhelming odds? But every sunrise brought renewed purpose. He remembered the faces of those counting on him, the soldiers under his command, the families praying for safety, the scientists working tirelessly behind the scenes. Failure was not an option. Days turned into weeks, and tension mounted as reports of enemy movements trickled in. The Vortex fleet was growing larger, gathering strength near the edge of Earth's solar system. Scouts intercepted communications, hinting at massive invasion plans. Time was running out, yet amidst the fear and uncertainty, a spark of hope flickered. Humanity had always risen to meet challenges head-on, adapting and innovating when faced with adversity. From ancient battles fought with swords and shields to modern conflicts waged with missiles and drones, they had proven time and again that courage and ingenuity could overcome even the greatest obstacles. Now, standing on the brink of galactic war, humanity prepared to march forward once more. Led by figures like Jae-hyun, Eun-ji, and Eugene, they vowed to show the universe that Earth was not just a speck of dust among the stars. It was a force to be reckoned with. And so, as the first shots of the war echoed through the void of space, humanity stood united, ready to carve its place among the stars. The days following the announcement of the war were filled with tension. Earth's streets, once bustling with life and laughter, now carried an undercurrent of unease. People whispered in hushed tones about the alien threat looming just beyond their skies. News broadcasts played endlessly, showing images of military ships being launched into orbit and soldiers training for a battle no one truly understood. It was as if the entire planet held its breath, waiting for the storm to break. At the heart of it all stood Jae-hyun Park, whose responsibility weighed heavily on his shoulders. Every decision he made could mean the difference between victory and annihilation. He spent long hours poring over maps and schematics, strategizing how best to defend Earth against an enemy that seemed invincible. His mind rarely rested. Yet even Jae-hyun couldn't escape the creeping doubts that gnawed at him late at night. Eun-ji Choi, too, bore her own burden. The Singularity Core, her greatest achievement, had become both Earth's hope and its potential downfall. She worked tirelessly alongside her team, tweaking the device's settings to ensure it could be used safely in combat. But the more she tinkered with it, the more she feared its instability. What if something went wrong? What if her invention caused more harm than good? These questions haunted her dreams, leaving her exhausted and hollow-eyed. One evening, after another grueling day at the lab, Eun-ji found herself sitting alone in a quiet corner of the facility. Her hands trembled slightly as she stared at the glowing core before her. It pulsed faintly, almost alive, humming with energy that defied comprehension. She felt a deep sense of guilt pressing down on her chest. "What have I done?" she murmured softly, tears welling up in her eyes. Hearing her voice, Hyan-Su Lee approached cautiously. Hyan-Su had always been her rock, someone who believed in her vision when others doubted her abilities. He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You didn't do anything wrong," he said firmly. "This isn't your fault." "But what if it is?" Eun-ji replied, turning to face him. "What if using this thing destroys us all?" Hyan-Su sighed, running a hand through his messy hair. "We can't think like that. You created this to help people, to make the world better. We're only fighting because we don't have a choice. If we give up now, everything you've worked for will be wasted." His words brought little comfort, but Eun-ji nodded anyway. She knew he was right. Still, the weight of her responsibility lingered, shadowing every step she took. Meanwhile, cracks began to form within humanity's fragile alliance. Not everyone agreed with going to war. Some nations hesitated, fearing retaliation from a Vorthack Dominion if they joined the fight. Others questioned whether relying so heavily on the Singularity Core was wise. They argued that putting all their faith in one untested weapon made them vulnerable to sabotage or failure. Jae-hyun faced dissent even within his own ranks. His second-in-command, Dong Woo-on, openly criticized the strategies during meetings. A seasoned officer with years of experience, Dong-woo believed negotiation was a better path. Fighting the Vorthack head-on is suicide, he argued passionately. We should try to talk to them, find common ground before it's too late. Jae-hyun listened patiently, though his jaw tightened with frustration. "They've already declared war," he reminded him. "Do you really think they'll listen to reason after demanding our surrender?" "It's worth a shot," Dong-woo shot back. "If we charge blindly into battle, we'll lose everything." The argument ended without resolution, but Jae-hyun couldn't shake off the uneasiness it left behind. Was he leading humanity toward disaster? Or was standing firm the only way to protect their future? These thoughts plagued him constantly, making sleep nearly impossible. Far away from Earth, Ambassador Eugene Kim fought battles of her own. At the Galactic Council chambers, she encountered skepticism and hostility at every turn. Many species saw humanity's plight as irrelevant, dismissing Earth as a minor nuisance unworthy of attention. Others feared angering the Vorthack Dominion by offering aid, choosing instead to remain neutral. But Eugene refused to let despair take hold. With fiery determination, she pleaded Earth's case before the Council, highlighting humanity's resilience and ingenuity. She spoke of their history, how they had overcome countless challenges to survive and thrive. She emphasized their potential, not just as warriors, but as equals deserving respect. Her efforts slowly began to bear fruit. While few species dared defy the Vorthack openly, several smaller factions offered covert assistance. Smugglers delivered weapons and supplies to Earth's forces, while spies leaked vital information about enemy movements. Though modest, these acts of solidarity gave humanity a fighting chance. Back on Earth, ordinary citizens rallied together in ways both big and small. Farmers donated food to feed the troops, engineers built makeshift defenses, and families prayed for those heading into battle. Among them was Soo-ah Lim, a young journalist determined to document the war effort. Armed with a camera and notebook, she traveled across cities and towns, capturing stories of courage and sacrifice. Soo-ah interviewed soldiers preparing for deployment, scientists working around the clock, and civilians volunteering their time and resources. Her reports inspired millions, reminding everyone why they fought, not just for survival, but for freedom and dignity. Through her lens, humanity appeared united, standing tall despite the odds stacked against them. Yet beneath the surface, fear simmered. Rumors spread like wildfire, fueled by uncertainty and misinformation. Some claimed the Vorthack fleet was already en route to Earth, while others whispered of secret betrayals within the human alliance. Tensions flared, testing the limits of trust and cooperation. In private moments, Jae-hyun allowed himself brief glimpses of vulnerability. He confided in Eun-ji during rare breaks from their duties, sharing fears he dared not voice aloud. "What if we fail?" he asked one night, staring out at the stars. "What happens then?" Eun-ji placed a reassuring hand on his arm. "Then we fight until the end," she said simply. That's all we can do." Her words resonated deeply, grounding him amidst the chaos. Together, they forged ahead, driven by a shared purpose stronger than doubt or fear. As preparations continued, humanity braced itself for the inevitable clash. Soldiers trained relentlessly, honing their skills for battles unlike any they had faced before. Engineers fine-tuned spacecraft and weaponry, ensuring every piece of equipment functioned flawlessly. Civilians prepared shelters and emergency plans, readying themselves for whatever might come next. And still, the question lingered in everyone's minds. Could they really win? Against an enemy as powerful and merciless as the Vorthak Dominion, victory seemed almost impossible. Yet amid the uncertainty, a stubborn resolve emerged. Humanity had always risen to meet challenges head-on, adapting and innovating when faced with adversity. From ancient tribes defending their lands to modern armies pushing the boundaries of technology, they had proven time and again that courage and unity could overcome even the greatest obstacles. Now, standing on the brink of galactic war, humanity prepared to march forward once more. Led by figures like Jaehyun, Eunji, and Eugene, they vowed to show the universe that Earth was not just a speck of dust among the stars. It was a force to be reckoned with. Though shadows of doubt lingered, hope burned brighter than ever. For every tear shed in fear, there was a smile born of determination. For every moment of weakness, there was an act of strength. And as the first signs of the Vorthak fleet appeared near Jupiter's orbit, humanity stood ready to face whatever lay ahead. The stage was set. The players assembled. The galaxy watched with bated breath as Earth prepared to defend itself against overwhelming odds. Whatever happened next, one thing was certain. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. The silence in space was deafening. Stars twinkled faintly in the distance, their light barely piercing the vast darkness. Earth's fleet hovered near Jupiter's orbit, a fragile line of defense against an enemy that could wipe them out in moments. The tension aboard the ships was palpable, every soldier holding their breath, waiting for the first sign of the Vorthak fleet. Jaehyun Park stood on the bridge of the UNSC flagship Taegu, his eyes fixed on the glowing screens before him. Data streamed endlessly, tracking movements in the surrounding area. He had spent countless hours preparing for this moment, but now, as it finally arrived, he felt a strange calm settle over him. There was no turning back. The time for planning and debating was over. Now it was time to fight. Beside him, Min-Soo Kong, one of the fleet's top pilots, leaned forward in his seat, gripping the controls tightly. Min-Soo was young, barely into his 20s, but his skills were unmatched. His quick reflexes and fearless determination had earned him a reputation among his peers. Yet even he couldn't hide the nervous energy coursing through him. This wasn't just another training exercise. This was real, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Suddenly, alarms blared across the ship. "They're here!" shouted a technician, pointing at a cluster of red dots appearing on the radar. The Vorthak fleet had arrived, their massive ships blotting out the stars like dark clouds rolling across the sky. "Prepare for battle," Jaehyun ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos erupting around him. Commands flew back and forth as crew members scrambled to ready the fleet. Weapon systems powered up, shields activated, and engines roared to life. Humanity's forces braced themselves for what would surely be the fight of their lives. The Vorthak opened fire first, launching barges of plasma projectiles that streaked through space like deadly comets. Explosions rocked the human ships, sending shockwaves rippling through the void. Pilots struggled to evade the relentless assault, weaving their vessels through the storm of destruction. Some weren't fast enough. Ships burst into flames, their crews lost forever in the cold emptiness of space. Amidst the chaos, Min-Soo proved his worth. With lightning-fast maneuvers, he dodged incoming fire while firing precision shots at the enemy. His small fighter darted between larger ships, exploiting weaknesses in their armor. Each hit brought cheers from the crew aboard the Taegu, but there was no time to celebrate. The Vorthak were relentless, their numbers overwhelming. Back on Earth, Eunji Choi monitored the battle remotely from her lab. Her fingers danced across the keyboard, adjusting settings on the Singularity core. She knew its power could turn the tide of the battle, if used correctly, but activating it came with risks. One wrong move, and the core could destabilize, causing catastrophic damage to both sides. Unji, we need something now. Hai and Su urged, watching the feed from the battlefield. Ships were being destroyed faster than they could rebuild their lines. If they didn't act soon, the entire fleet would crumble. Taking a deep breath, Unji initiated the core's experimental EMP burst mode. A surge of energy pulsed outward, invisible to the naked eye, but devastating in its effects. For a brief moment, the Vorthak fleet faltered. Their advanced technology, so superior to humanity's, sputtered and died under the electromagnetic wave. Ships drifted aimlessly, unable to fire or maneuver. "We've got them!" someone shouted aboard the Tegu. Seizing the opportunity, Jaehyun ordered a counterattack. Human ships swarmed the disabled Vorthak vessels, unleashing everything they had. Explosions lit up the darkness as alien ships exploded one after another. But the victory was short-lived. The Vorthak quickly adapted, rerouting power to bypass the EMP interference. Their weapons reactivated, and the barrage resumed with renewed ferocity. Humanity's forces regrouped, fighting valiantly, but the losses mounted. Every ship lost meant fewer defenders standing between invaders and Earth itself. Min-Su found himself cornered by 3 Vorthak fighters. They fired relentlessly, forcing him to perform evasive maneuvers that pushed his craft to its limits. Sweat dripped down his face as he twisted and turned, narrowly avoiding each shot. Finally, spotting an opening, he launched a missile strike, taking out 2 of the enemy's ships. The third retreated, giving him precious seconds to catch his breath. "Good work, Min-Su." Jaehyun called over the comms, pride evident in his voice. But Min-Su didn't have time to respond. Another wave of enemies approached, and he dove back into the fray. As the battle raged on, cracks began to show not just in the human fleet, but within the Vorthak ranks as well. General Kael-Tor, leader of the invasion force, watched the unfolding chaos with growing frustration. He had expected an easy victory, a swift crushing of these primitive humans. Instead, they fought with a tenacity he hadn't anticipated. Their tactics were unpredictable, their resolve unshakable. "What is wrong with you fools?" Kael-Tor barked at his subordinates. "Destroy them already." His anger only fueled the pressure on his troops, who redoubled their efforts to break through the human defenses. Yet for every ship they destroyed, another took its place. It was as if humanity had an endless supply of fighters willing to sacrifice themselves for cause. Meanwhile, Ambassador Eugene Kim watched the battle unfold from the Galactic Council chambers. Though far removed from the front lines, she felt the weight of the conflict keenly. Her pleas for support had yielded mixed results. Some species remained neutral, while others secretly aided Earth's forces. But none dared openly defy the Vorthak dominion. Still, she clung to hope, knowing that humanity's survival depended on more than just brute strength. It depended on unity, ingenuity, and sheer willpower. On the battlefield, Jae-hyun made a bold decision. "Retreat to Earth's atmosphere," he commanded. "We'll use the planet's gravitational pull to our advantage." The order was risky. Retreating might embolden the Vorthak, giving them a chance to regroup and launch an even stronger attack. But Jae-hyun trusted his instincts. Earth's unpredictable weather patterns and gravitation anomalies could confuse the enemy, buying humanity valuable time to regroup and strike back. As the fleet withdrew, the Vorthak followed, eager to press their advantage. They entered Earth's atmosphere, where turbulence and storms wreaked havoc on their sensors and navigation systems. Human pilots, familiar with the planet's quirks, navigated the chaos with ease, using it to ambush their foes. Unji played a crucial role in the strategy, remotely triggering bursts of temporal distortion from the Singularity core. These distortions caused pockets of slowed or accelerated time, disorienting the Vorthak fleet. Ships collided with each other, their crews helpless against the bizarre phenomena engulfing them. For the first time, the tide seemed to shift in humanity's favor. The Vorthak, once confident in their superiority, now faced an adversary they couldn't fully comprehend. Their losses mounted and morale plummeted. Yet even as humanity gained ground, the cost of the battle became painfully clear. Countless lives had been lost, and many ships lay in ruins, drifting silently through space. Among the fallen was Dongwoo-on, Jae-hyun second in command. Once a vocal critic of the war, Dongwoo had proven himself a brave and loyal soldier in the end, sacrificing his life to protect the flagship during a critical moment. Jae-hyun grieved silently for his friend and mentor, but there was no time to mourn. The battle wasn't over yet. The Vorthaks still outnumbered them, and their commander, General Kael-Tor, refused to retreat. Instead, he rallied his remaining forces, vowing to crush humanity once and for all. As the fighting continued, Min-Soo led a daring mission to disable Kael-Tor's command ship. Alongside a squadron of elite pilots, he flew directly into the heart of the enemy fleet, dodging fire and destroying obstacles in his path. The mission was perilous, and not everyone made it back alive. By the time they reached their target, Min-Soo's fighter was badly damaged, smoke trailing behind it as he approached the command ship's hull. With trembling hands, he guided his craft toward the vessel's main reactor, planting explosives designed to cripple the ship. As the countdown began, he realized there was no way to escape in time. Turning off his comms to avoid protests from his comrades, he whispered a final goodbye to his family back home. The explosion tore through the command ship, sending shockwaves rippling through the Vorthak fleet. General Kael-Tor, injured but alive, ordered a retreat. The remaining ships limped away, their pride shattered along with their forces. Humanity had won the day, but at a terrible price. Ships floated lifelessly in space, their crews silenced forever. Cities on Earth bore scars from stray attacks, their streets lined with rubble and grief. Yet amidst the devastation, a spark of hope remained. Against all odds, humanity had stood firm, proving to the galaxy that they were not to be underestimated. Jae-hyun looked out at the battered fleet, exhaustion etched into his face. He thought of those who had given their lives. Their names would never be forgotten. Turning to his remaining crew, he spoke softly but firmly. "We held the line today, but this war isn't over yet. We keep fighting for them, for Earth and for the future." And so, though bruised and weary, humanity prepared for what lay ahead. The clash of titans had ended, but the struggle for survival was far from finished. The victory near Jupiter's orbit had been costly, but it bought humanity precious time. The Vorthak Dominion retreated to regroup, licking their wounds and plotting their next move. For the people of Earth, there was no celebration, only grim determination. The war wasn't over. It had only just begun. Jae-hyun Park stood on the bridge of the Taegu, staring at a holographic map of Earth's solar system. The Vorthak fleet was gathering beyond Mars, amassing forces for what would surely be their final assault. Intelligence reports painted a bleak picture. Thousands of ships, armed with weapons far beyond anything humanity could match. This time, they wouldn't stop until Earth itself was ash. Eun-ji Choi worked tirelessly in her lab, fine-tuning the Singularity Core. She knew its power was Earth's best chance at survival, but she also understood the risks. The core was unstable, a ticking time bomb that could collapse into a black hole if pushed too far. Every adjustment she made brought them closer to victory or annihilation. Sleep eluded her, her mind racing with calculations and worst-case scenarios. Yet she pressed on, driven by guilt and duty. If this device destroyed her along with the enemy, so be it. Humanity's survival mattered more than her life. Hyen-Soo Lee stayed by her side, offering quiet support as he always did. He double-checked her work, ensuring every modification was precise. Though he tried to stay optimistic, fear gnawed at him. What if something went wrong? What if all their efforts ended in disaster? But he kept his doubts to himself, knowing Eun-ji needed strength now more than ever. Meanwhile, Jae-hyun prepared for the inevitable invasion. His plan was risky, a desperate gamble to lure the Vorthak fleet into Earth's atmosphere, where unpredictable weather patterns and gravitational anomalies would give humanity an edge. It was a dangerous strategy, one that could easily backfire. But with no other options left, it was the only way to stand a chance against such overwhelming odds. Ordinary citizens rallied behind their defenders, working tirelessly to fortify cities and build makeshift shelters. Farmers donated food, engineers constructed defenses, and families prayed for those heading into battle. Among them was Soo-ah Lim, who documented the war effort with unwavering dedication. Her stories inspired millions, reminding everyone why they fought, not just for survival, but for freedom and dignity. As the days passed, tension mounted. Reports poured in about the Vorthak fleet's movements. They were coming faster and stronger than before. General Kael'tor, humiliated by his earlier defeat, vowed to crush humanity once and for all. His hatred burned brighter than the stars themselves. When the invasion finally began, chaos erupted across the globe. Cities burned as plasma barges rained down from the sky. Skies lit up with explosions, and countless lives hung in the balance. Humanity's defenders fought valiantly, but the sheer scale of the attack overwhelmed them. Ships fell like leaves in a storm, their crews lost forever in the cold emptiness of space. Jae-hyun led the charge aboard the Taegu, coordinating attacks while dodging devastating barges. His voice remained steady, issuing orders even as destruction unfolded around him. "Hold the line," he shouted. "We can't let them through." Pilots like Min-Soo Kong executed daring maneuvers, exploiting weaknesses in enemy ships' armor. Their small fighters darted between larger vessels, firing precision shots that crippled the invaders. Each hit brought cheers from the crew aboard the Taegu, but there was no time to celebrate. The Vorthak were relentless, their numbers seemingly endless. Amidst the carnage, Unji activated the Singularity Core, creating temporal distortions that disoriented the enemy fleet. Ships collided with each other, their crews helpless against the bizarre phenomena engulfing them. For a brief moment, humanity gained the upper hand, but the Core's instability became apparent. Alarms blared in Unji's lab as energy readings spiked dangerously high. Hyen-Soo rushed to her side, panic in his eyes. "You have to shut it down," he urged. "It's going to overload." "I can't," Unji replied, her voice trembling. "If I do, we lose everything." She adjusted the settings, trying to stabilize the core while maintaining its effects on the battlefield. Sweat dripped down her face as she worked feverishly, her hands moving with practiced precision. Time seemed to slow as the seconds ticked by, each one feeling like an eternity. Back aboard the Taegu, Jae-hyun watched the battle unfold with growing desperation. Despite their efforts, the Vorthak fleet pushed forward, breaking through Earth's defenses. Cities crumbled beneath their assault, and millions perished in the flames. Humanity's resolve wavered, but Jae-hyun refused to give up. "We fight until the end," he declared. "For Earth. For our future." Min-Soo led a squadron of elite fighters in a daring strike against Kael'Tor's command ship. Flying directly into the heart of the enemy fleet, they dodged fire and destroyed obstacles in their path. By the time they reached their target, Min-Soo's fighter was badly damaged, smoke trailing behind it as he approached the command ship's hull. With trembling hands, he guided his craft toward the vessel's main reactor, planting explosives designed to cripple the ship. As the countdown began, he realized there was no way to escape in time. Turning off his comms to avoid protests from his comrades, he whispered a final goodbye to his family back home. The explosion tore through the command ship, sending shockwaves rippling through the Vorthak fleet. General Kael'Tor, injured but alive, ordered retreat. The remaining ships limped away, their pride shattered along with their forces. Humanity had won the day, but at a terrible price. Countless lives had been lost, and many ships lay in ruins, drifting silently through space. Among the fallen was Min-Soo Kong, whose sacrifice ensured humanity's survival. His name would be remembered alongside the countless others who gave everything for their planet. As the dust settled, Unji faced the final challenge. The Singularity Core was destabilizing, threatening to collapse into a black hole. She volunteered to stay behind and stabilize it, knowing she might never return. Jae-hyun pleaded with her to reconsider, but she simply smiled and said, "It's my turn to protect you." With tears in his eyes, Jae-hyun gave the order to evacuate. As the rest of the crew fled, Unji worked alone in the lab, her hands steady despite the danger. She adjusted the core settings one last time, stabilizing it just enough to prevent catastrophe. Then, with a deep breath, she stepped away, watching as the device powered down. Exhausted but alive, she collapsed on the floor, her body racked with sobs. They had done it. They had survived. But the cost weighed heavily on her heart. When news of the victory reached the Galactic Council, shockwaves spread throughout the galaxy. For the first time, The Council acknowledged Earth's potential, not just as warriors, but as equals. Even some Vorthack commanders privately admitted fear of facing such relentless determination again. On Earth, celebrations broke out amidst the ruins. People hugged each other tightly, tears streaming down their faces. They had endured unimaginable loss, but they had emerged victorious. Humanity's resilience had proven stronger than anyone thought possible. Jae-hyun stood on the bridge of the Taegu, looking out at the battered planet below. Smoke rose from burning cities, and scars marred the landscape. Yet amidst the devastation, hope flickered brightly. Against all odds, humanity had stood firm, proving to the galaxy that they were not to be underestimated. And so, though broken and scarred, Earth began to heal. New technologies developed during the war transformed society, fostering innovation and unity. And somewhere deep in space, rumors circulated about a lone figure traveling between stars, a woman who bore a striking resemblance to Eun-ji Choi, carrying secrets of the universe within her grasp. Humanity had marched to war and emerged stronger. The galaxy would never underestimate them again. The war was over, but its scars ran deep. Earth bore the marks of devastation. Cities reduced to rubble, forests scorched into ash, and oceans tainted by debris. The skies, once clear and inviting, now carried traces of smoke and dust that lingered like ghosts of battles past. Yet amidst the ruins, humanity began to rebuild. It was slow, painful work, but every brick laid and every seed planted was a testament to their resilience. Jae-hyun Park walked through what remained of Seoul, his boots crunching on broken glass and twisted metal. The city he had once known so well was barely recognizable. Streets were lined with makeshift shelters, and people moved about with weary determination, carrying tools or supplies. Children played among the wreckage, their laughter a stark contrast to the somber faces of adults. Despite everything, life went on. He stopped at a memorial wall erected in honor of those who had fallen during the war. Names were carved into stone, each one representing a life lost, a son, a daughter, a friend, a hero. Jae-hyun traced his fingers over some of the names, his throat tight with emotion. Min-soo Kang's name stood out among them, alongside Dong Woo-an and countless others who had given everything for Earth's survival. He whispered a silent thank you, vowing never to forget their sacrifice. Eun-ji Choi sat in her lab, staring at the Singularity Core. The device that had nearly destroyed them now lay dormant, its energy contained within a reinforced casing. She felt a mix of relief and guilt as she looked at it. Relief because it no longer posed an immediate threat, and guilt because she couldn't shake the feeling that she had unleashed something far beyond her control. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached out to touch the cold surface of the core. Hye-in-soo entered the room quietly, holding 2 cups of tea. He set one down beside her and took a seat nearby. "You did what you had to do," he said gently. "No one blames you." "I blame myself," Eun-ji replied softly. "This thing had caused so much pain, so much loss. But also saved us." Hye-in-soo reminded her. "Without it, we wouldn't have won." She nodded slowly, though doubt still clouded her eyes. The core represented both humanity's greatest triumph and its darkest moment. It was a reminder of how close they had come to annihilation and how fragile their existence truly was. As weeks turned into months, Earth began to heal. Factories reopened, producing materials needed for reconstruction. Farmers tilled the soil, planting crops in fields once ravaged by fire. Engineers designed new technologies inspired by discoveries made during the war, transforming society in ways no one could have predicted. Renewable energy systems powered cities, medical advancements saved lives, and communication networks connected people across the globe like never before. Soo-ah Lim continued documenting the recovery effort, capturing stories of hope and renewal. Her reports highlighted the courage and ingenuity of ordinary citizens who refused to give up even when faced with overwhelming odds. Through her lens, humanity appeared united, standing tall despite the challenges ahead. Her work earned her international acclaim, but she remained humble, knowing her role was simply to bear witness to history. At the Galactic Council, Ambassador Eugene Kim secured Earth's place as a recognized member. Once dismissed as insignificant, humanity was now seen as a formidable force, one capable of defending itself against even the most powerful adversaries. Delegates from other species approached her cautiously, curious about these humans who had defied expectations. Some sought alliances, while others offered trade agreements, eager to benefit from Earth's newfound status. Eugene seized the opportunity to advocate for peace and cooperation. She spoke passionately about the lessons humanity had learned during the war, that strength came not from weapons or technology, but from unity and resilience. Her words resonated with many, sparking discussions about reforming the Council to include smaller, less dominant species. Though progress was slow, the seeds of change had been planted. Meanwhile, whispers spread throughout the galaxy about humanity's potential. The Vorthack Dominion retreated into isolation, licking its wounds after the humiliating defeat. General Kael'tor disappeared from public view, his fate unknown. Rumors suggested he had been stripped of his rank and exiled, though none could confirm this. Whatever the truth, the Vorthack's grip on the galaxy weakened, creating opportunities for other factions to rise. On Earth, Jaehyun struggled to adjust to peacetime. After years of leading humanity's defense, he found himself unsure of his purpose. He spent hours poring over old battle plans and reading letters sent to him by grieving families, searching for meaning in the chaos. Eventually, he decided to dedicate his life to ensuring such a war would never happen again. He joined efforts to establish a global defense network, working closely with scientists and engineers to develop non-lethal deterrents against future threats. Eunji, too, found solace in her work. She led a team tasked with studying the Singularity Core, determined to understand its full potential without risking another catastrophe. Her research yielded breakthroughs in quantum physics, paving the way for innovations that benefited all of humanity. Though she rarely spoke of her experiences during the war, those close to her noticed a quiet strength in her demeanor, a resolve forged in fire. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Jaehyun and Eunji met atop a hill overlooking the city. They stood side by side, watching as lights flickered to life in the distance. For the first